304, take 2. Okay, turning.
We're rolling, please. And action.
You don't remember it from your many research trips?
And we're on Hague. Cut. One more, please.
Cut. Going again. Going again.
Okay, quiet and still, please. 305, take 3. Quiet now, please.
Camera set. And action.
Oh, it's just how you described it.
We're on Hague.
You don't remember it from your many research trips?
Hi. I don't know why we didn't think of this before. I'm sorry we can't invite friends and family, but this is so special, isn't it? It's perfect.
No.
Oh.
Quiet and still.
Keep rolling.
Is it going to come back?
Mark it.
Set.
Quiet, please.
And action.
I don't know why we didn't think of this before. I'm sorry we couldn't invite friends and family, but this is so special, isn't it? It's perfect. And it's just us. Let's go in. I have to see the Hall of a Million Feathers.
Should we?
I'll be fine, okay?
You don't remember it from your many research trips?
Hi. Why didn't we think of this before? I'm sorry.
So when you should come to the reeds.
If you just stay behind it, you won't.
Or some of them are sort of just
Good spot.
Maybe 2 minutes.
Okay, roll sound, please.
Very, very wide.
Right, okay, can we have a massive...
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, Laura.
What they're doing, Nanny. Maybe talcum powder.
That's lovely. And then let's take. So basically, oh, there's no monitor on this. Have a look here. A bit more the other way, Peter. Left. A bit more. Is that's I'll move the. That's wide. Yeah, but it's like so small the amount that I want. That's like way too much. So get rid of all of that.
Who's we? Who's looking for us?
Oh, the gang.
You mean the gang of beauticians? Are you mad? How long have you been gone? You're going to fall off a cliff. And do you really think Marco Bellani is going to believe this toilet attendant is my wife?
I'm not a toilet attendant.
Move along, please, madam.
Would any of you perhaps have a telephone that I could borrow?
It's the reception, love.
Right.
Payphone in there, apparently.
Right.
Camera mark. I can confirm that Laura Tyler and James Arbor were finally married today in a small, tasteful, private ceremony. They will be leaving for a secret honeymoon destination in the morning, but as you can see, they will be spending their wedding night in that turret there. That window there is where the action is.
What are you doing?
I'm just nipping out for some milk.
What do you think you are, Tarzan or something?
Laura's got to come at me.
Of course she does.
Oh, sorry, it's me, isn't it? Sorry, I do that here.
There's no wolves. We don't even have bees. She might stand on a hedgehog. Should be good, actually, because we're overrun.
Save it for the second edition of your dreary little guidebook, if there is one. Save it for the second edition of your dreary little guidebook, if there is one.
Right, wait there. I'm coming with you. Bring that swan back. I'm coming down.
That's not your dress, you'll rip it. I'm sure you'll be released back out into the community shortly. Goodbye.
Nails.
And with cut, thank you.
Actually, sort of directly across if you can.
That's not your dress, you'll rip it. I'm sure you'll be released back into the community shortly. Get back inside. Goodbye.
Right, wait there. I'm coming with you. I'm coming down.
It's not your dress, you'll rip it. I'm sure you'll be released back into the community shortly. Back inside. Goodbye.
Cut. Right, then leave it alone, please. Leave it alone. Thank you. Leave it alone.
So Martin, have a look at the frame before you go over.
Rehearse, thank you. And rehearsal and action. Right, what do we think?
Brilliant. I like it.
Happy?
Yeah, but when David's going to be looking.
It's coming on a memory stick.
Just have a big punch as soon as you get to it.
Applications do it.
Wherever you work, never let them.
Donald!
Peter. Point of glass as soon as you get there. They get all that, because it's all the yolk and they get all their bacteria. Apparently
was actually right next to our hotel. We went there last night. Yeah, to the West End. So we went and got our food, which is really
talking about influence partially funded by Old Man, how we can get more money to the patient fuel and stuff. Just chuck them in the river.
Mark it. I know I'm in the shot. You got a board on?
Yeah.
Ready?
And action!
Towards the right of her. Yeah, that's what I mean. To the side as opposed to over her. Does that make sense?
Alright. Oh, here's some sun.
With the dress wet.
Part there. So
James is a best-selling novelist. He's written a very successful, perhaps slightly pretentious book, but it's a book that's been his fortune, a rather thick tome called The Ornithologist's Wife. And he hasn't quite managed to compose the follow-up yet. The world is waiting with semi-bated breath for that. And meanwhile, he's having a bit of writer's block while he falls in love with the world's most eligible movie star, who's read his book and fallen in love with it and him. And at the start of the film, they are trying to have their wedding. Lara Tyler, played by Alice Eve, is the world's most eligible movie star, and she's determined to get married out with the glare of the world's press and paparazzi. So we first meet her and James in a small chapel in Europe where they think they've got away with it, and they think they've misled the waiting press into believing they're getting married elsewhere, only to discover that Marco Bellani is hiding in the church's organ so that he can report the nuptials across the front pages of the world newspapers. I've known Sheree for a long time, and she sent the script to me, and she told me that Kelly Macdonald was already attached. So that was, those were two enticing factors to begin with, really. And then I read the script, and I just thought it was charming and lovely and funny and quirky and unlike anything I'd been doing recently. So it was something I was very keen to get involved in from then on. Kelly was attached to the script before I was, and that was a huge attraction to me because I've admired her hugely for a long time. I just think she's got such a kind of natural warmth to her, and she seems to be able to turn her hand at everything and be hugely successful in it. So I was very excited at the prospect of working with her. And we'd met a couple of times socially. We didn't know each other very well, but I knew that she was as lovely a person as you would imagine her to be from her work. So no, I was very pleased that I had the chance to work with her. Well, in terms of the visualization of it, Sheree has a very clear visual sense. She also works very closely with the production designer Ali Dominitz, who was also on Casanova actually. And I think they approach these things with they work very closely together in sort of creating these worlds, and they're very specific about how things should be. And it's hard to speculate on how something's going to look when you're in the middle of it until you see it back, but I'm fairly certain it will have quite a distinct visual sense. And I think the world that we're creating will be distinct as well, just slightly left of centre, possibly not quite the real world, but just a rather heightened, juicy version of that real world. It's kind of Brigadoon with teeth, I suppose, the Isle of Heg. So there is something slightly fairy tale about it, but with a twist. But very pleased to make it to Isle of Man. A lot of filming happens there. I have friends who go there, all seem to be there all the time doing whatever, and I've never made it. But we had a wonderful time there, and the sun shone and it looked stunning. To be honest, there's been a bit of adverse weather, but we've been really lucky. We've had a couple of rainstorms, sort of when we've needed to have rainstorms. We shuffled a couple of days around in the schedule because the weather forecast on the Isle of Man was peculiarly accurate. They could tell you when it was going to rain to the hour. I don't know how they do it. As soon as we came back to Glasgow, of course, the weather forecast was completely wrong. The Scottish weather forecasters, I'm sure they're wonderful people who work terribly hard, useless. On the Isle of Man, they knew the weather in sort of 10-minute blocks, which allowed us to move things around rather successfully. And we had beautiful blue skies when we needed them. We also had wonderful rolling fog when we needed it, which I'm sure people are going to think is a special effect, but was actually what we discovered on a hillside in the Isle of Man.
So I got sent the script a few years ago and then and loved it, and they said, you know, we've not got the money to make it just yet, and then it disappeared for another couple of years, and then I had a little boy, and then he was about 6 months, and I got invited to a lovely restaurant in London to meet Sheree Folkson, who was then on board to direct, and yeah, I kind of couldn't believe. At the meeting, I was sort of trying to suss out if I was in contention for the part, or if I had the part, because you don't want to. I wasn't quite sure, because it's a very good part, and you can't just assume that it's yours. But it turned out it was. The script is it's a very old-fashioned kind of romantic comedy, and Sheree is a big fan of screwball comedies from the 30s and 40s, and that's kind of the feel that she's going for. And I mean, it's just a lovely script anyway, you know. And I'm sure Sheree's gonna. You can just see what her input is, but the script on its own is just a heartbreaking, lovely, funny, sweet thing. And you could sort of imagine Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert and people like that doing it. Well, the film is set in a fictitious Hebridean island called Heg, and it's very remote, and not much happens there, and everybody's pretty elderly. But but you know, a celebrity wedding descends on the island, and Katie's lived in the mainland for a number of years, and she's kind of running away from her life, and so she thinks she's going to get away from it all and get away from men, and that's the end. She's just going to live on this island now, and she gets there, and then just it's just chaos. David Tennant is playing James, and James and Katie end up kind of locked into this, it's a proximity that neither of them are happy with, but they get kind of stuck together and can't get rid of each other. And David is just, you know, he's a Scottish icon, don't you know? And I've met him. I had met him a couple of times over the years, but it's just really lovely to get to work with him. He's so easy and so good and so funny. The funny thing is the thing that really frightens me, actually, because it's a comedy, and I don't generally get cast in comedies. So everywhere I look, you know, Sally Phillips and Michael Urie and all these brilliantly funny people. So that's slightly nerve-wracking for me. I've not deliberately chosen like my career's been, it's just done what it's done. I've not had any grand plan, but I do tend to get cast as the truth-telling, serious kind of, you know, maid usually. But this is a whole new area for me, so it's exciting. But it is it's always good to be a bit scared, I think, and I definitely am. But I'm not trying to be a clown or anything, and I think it's just all in the writing and the situation. But it does help being around very funny actors. I'm a huge fan of Smack the Pony. Is something that I watched kind of religiously, and I became a bit of an online stalker of hers. I've admitted it to her, she knows. But when this was coming up, I kind of just kept YouTubing bits and bobs. But I just think she's super talented, and it's great that she's here, she's in it as well. She's written this brilliant, lovely little comedy, but she's around as well. So she's one of these people that I've penned as a friend of the future. She doesn't know anything about that yet. But her, Sandra Bullock. Sheree is so passionate about this, and it's catching, and it's like she's got it all in her head. Like she's made the film in her head, so you know, there's a definite level of comfort there, you know, because she absolutely knows where she's going and what she wants you to do, and so that's good. It's good to have someone strong like that at the helm. I thought filming, we filmed for 2 weeks on the Isle of Man, and I thought it was going to be a nightmare, frankly, because the weather is kind of specific scene to scene, and I don't know who the producers have got to deal with, but the weather has been exactly, you know, as it's been written, freakishly so. I know they changed a few days about because of the weather, but still, you know, it's changeable. And you know, there was one day where it's the scene. It was written. We're lost in the mist. You know, it's rolling mist, and so they had machines there to create that for us. But it was unnecessary in the end because that's exactly what we got. It's brilliant to be in Scotland filming, because I haven't been lucky enough to work in Scotland for such a long time. I've been away. I've done a lot in America. There's been bits and bobs in London, but I haven't been up here for such a long time, and so it's nice to be home. I've never been to the Outer Hebrides. I've been to the Inner Hebrides. I think Skye is part of the Inner Hebrides, and that's as far as I've made it. But it is island life is a very different thing. I mean, I remember, because my mum lived on Skye for a number of years, and you know, people that have lived on Skye for years but haven't been born there, people that are from the mainland that have moved to the island are called white settlers. People are very, you know, you have to be from there, and everyone else is eyed with suspicion a little bit. So that's been my experience of island life.
Lara gets stuck on the island hiding from the paparazzi, and in order to get back to where she needs to be to find her fiance, she can't look like herself. So she takes on the persona of what I've been saying is an 87-year-old Scottish lady, but I suspect when I meet the actress she won't be that old, but I haven't met her yet. But anyway, she takes on the persona of an older Scottish lady from the Highlands and pretends to be her. So Lara has this sort of genius idea to marry on the island that he set his book on, and I suppose she fell in love with him through the book, fell in love with his words first. So the title, The Decoy Bride, comes from the fact that the character I play, Lara, is really famous, and she doesn't want to be stalked on her wedding day, so they have a decoy bride who Kelly ends up being paid to play, and she dresses up like Lara Tyler and has to do a sort of fake American accent like Lara Tyler, hence the Decoy Bride. David Tennant's great. He's a really nice man. I asked him the other day what he would be if he wasn't an actor, and he said a school teacher, which is perhaps why the country loves him so much, because he's a really kind of stand-up guy. Michael plays my manager. He's quite young to be playing a manager, so he's obviously very talented at it. Super powerful, tough as nails manager. He takes care of things, and has always done, I think, for Lara, and takes care of them to the nth degree. So she's kind of protected from her own life. She doesn't really know the extent to which he protects her. Sheree's great. She's great, Sheree Folkson. I called her Folkson yesterday and she laughed, so I think I might continue to call her Folkson. She's lovely. I think it's my second time working with a female director, and it's lovely to work with a female director because, you know, women have a common language. Men are great as well, but it's just a different experience, and I'm really enjoying it.
I am the one who is responsible for the Decoy Bride conceit. So it is Steve's idea to initially have lots of decoy brides to throw the paparazzi off the scent so that Lara can get married paparazzi free. And then later in the movie, I come up with the idea to have a decoy bride to actually get married to the groom and really throw the paparazzi off the scent. So it's all my fault. I have a very nice agent who looks after me in London, so whenever jobs come up that might be right for me, he puts my name in the hat. And I actually had worked with Sheree Folkson, our director, on an episode of Ugly Betty. So when I heard about the project and I heard that she was doing it, I got excited, and I hope that she did too when she heard I was interested. And then once I read the script, which is adorable, I thought I just got to get in on this. And they said yes, and I said yes, and it all worked out. It was perfect. Sheree is, she's got an incredible vision and an incredible ear for storytelling. She knows just the right amount of any flourish that needs to be there. When we worked on Ugly Betty, she directed about I think it was the second episode that we ever made. And of all 85, it still is one of the best directed episodes that we ever had. And we had some fantastic directors, great directors, feature directors, great TV directors. But her vision of the show and her sort of aesthetic stab was just right. And in many ways, the sort of the benchmark for the show in the future. Really, visually especially, she sort of set the tone for the next 4 years. She never came back, but we always talked about her and remembered how great her episode was. So the opportunity to work with her again was definitely something that I wanted to do. I have a lot of trust in her, a lot of faith in her. I know that what she sees is the right thing to go with, the right impulse. Well, Steve, he is the kind of manager who I've met many times in Hollywood. He will do anything for his client. He will move mountains if necessary. He will kill if he has to. So when she gives him the task of setting up a wedding with no paparazzi, he dives head first. I think he's an overachiever. I actually think that Steve would be just as effective at his job if he worked as sort of a corporate takeover officer. He's the kind of guy who would bring you your subpoena. He's the guy who does the job that people don't necessarily want to do. And dealing with an emotional, high-octane movie star is not exactly the kind of job that most people would dive headfirst into, but Steve is the kind of guy who would. I was aware of Doctor Who and David Tennant and of his work on stage and things like that, but I had never really seen his work because we don't really get British television in the States, so I hadn't really gotten a chance to check him out. But he's great. I feel like I've known him for years. We get along fantastically, and since I've gotten to know him, I've been able to check him out on YouTube and things like that, and he's great. And Doctor Who seems like a fantastic show. She's been on so much television, I found out, but her show Smack the Pony was hilarious, and I've gotten to know it now thanks to YouTube, and she's hysterical and brilliant. Kelly Macdonald really was the one that I knew the most about because she played a nice young woman from West Texas, which is where I'm from, not West Texas, but Texas. In No Country for Old Men. So all this time, I thought that Kelly Macdonald was a cowgirl, was from Texas like me. And only I come to find out that she has the most adorable Scottish accent I've ever heard. Scotland is gorgeous. It's breathtaking. I don't know how things stay so damn green here. I've only been to Dumfries, and I can't wait to go to Glasgow later tonight, and then I'm going to spend some time in Edinburgh too. But I've so far had a very, very good time. I do have to say I had a Scottish breakfast this morning, and I now have no more salt intake for the next 2 months, which is a shame because I love salt, but Just can't.
Marco is a paparazzo photographer that lives in Rome and has been following around Alice Eve's character, Lara Taylor, her name is, or is it Tyler? Lara Tyler, for about 10 years. And he finds out that she's finally getting married and wants to get that perfect shot and will go to any lengths to try to get that shot. Marco is basically an independent person, an independent photographer who winds up selling his photographs to like major magazines. So yeah, but there are a lot of people scrambling for this shot. But Marco, I mean, he'll get into a disguise. He'll go to any length really to get the right shot. Yeah, from being in The Sopranos to a romantic comedy. Well, I'll tell you, I love it. I think for every actor, yeah, you want to play diverse characters. And Furio Giunta on The Sopranos was a wonderful character. He came from Naples. He did speak with an Italian accent, just like Marco Bellani does, but it's different. It's from Rome. He was from Naples. So this one, and also it's a different character altogether. I mean, I approach it very differently. You know, it's different choices altogether, and I'm finding, you know, I'm finding that I really like it. I really like doing something that, you know, I really don't do too many romantic comedies, but I'm really finding something in this, you know, that I really like. Sheree Folkson, I'm really happy that she's the director on this. She is phenomenal. I had never seen her work before, I have to be honest with you. But you know, in working with her in these several weeks that we've been together, she has a clear vision of what she wants. And that's, first and foremost, that's what you look for in a director. They understand the entire film, the arc of every character, the arc of the film itself. She's been a gem to work with. I'd work with her again in a heartbeat. She's fantastic. The locations have been phenomenal, really. I think that part of this film and another character of this film are the locations. I mean, the locations is, it just brings up the production value tremendously. The Isle of Man, just a fantastic place. I have to hand it to our locations manager. If there's one or two that have found the locations in the Isle of Man over here, I mean, it's been just incredible. Some of the landscapes, seascapes, just a pleasure to be around and look at. It's almost like a painting, you know. Really, it's very, very picturesque, and I think it's going to do tremendous for the film, having this backdrop.
Ecos sent me the script. I'd met one of the producers there, and they'd liked some of my TV work that I'd done. I did Casanova, which in fact David Tennant was in, and My Family and Other Animals, and they really liked what I'd done, and then they sent me the script. And not knowing that I absolutely adore romantic comedy, which apparently not many directors do for some reason, when it's my favourite genre. So I loved it, and I could see there was something really special there compared to, because I was reading a lot of sort of romantic comedies, often from America, and this was just cleverer and better. I thought it had a really clever plot, and the setting of the island, and not being some sort of twee, old-fashioned notion of a Scottish island, but the fact that when you first see it, it's raining and it's horrible, and just the humour of the mixing, the Americans coming to the island and the incongruity, and then the story of the ordinary girl having to take the place of the movie star. And of course it's the classic Cinderella story, really, because the ordinary girl turns out to be actually more desirable than the movie star in the end. So. It's about an American movie star and her fiancé coming to Hague in order to have a private wedding. And in fact, the press finding out and the movie star's agent getting a decoy bride to take the place of the movie star. And that is Katie, the heroine, who then gets stuck with James, the fiancé of the movie star. And they go on a journey together and fall in love. Hague is a fictional creation of the writers, but it's based on research of an Outer Hebridean island. So, you know, these places, they're very remote, tiny populations, stunningly beautiful, weirdly situated so that they're so far north that in the winter it's probably dark most of the day, but in the summer it almost never gets dark. And we created Hague by shooting both in the Isle of Man and Scotland. So a lot of the exteriors, in fact virtually all of the exteriors, are actually filmed on the Isle of Man, and I used the beaches and a wheat field and a beautiful little church, and really got a sense, and a cliff, sort of a beautiful cliff, and we just found the most beautiful places, which I think you completely buy that you're on this little island, and it worked perfectly, actually. And then the castle, though, we had to go to Calaverock in Scotland to find a real castle, and then with some very clever special effects, we transform it. We wanted the weather to start off bad and get better, and we actually paid for a rain machine at the beginning of the film, and then we were in the hands of the gods, and luckily the gods were extremely kind, and whenever we wanted it, it did exactly what we wanted it to do. So at one point it got really foggy when they were sort of supposed to be getting a bit lost and through the island, and then another time when it was more as they were falling in love with the island, James and Katie, as they were falling in love with each other. I wanted the island to look more and more beautiful, and we were just so lucky. Katie's story is that she's been dumped by her fiancé, and she's decided to come back and live on Hague, which has a population of 75. And there are no single men left on the island apart from the laird, who's in his 50s, and that's it. And so she is there hiding away, and the last thing she expects to find there is love. In fact, she's been so wounded she thinks she's just going to hide away from it, and of course, when you don't look for it, it tends to come along. David plays James Arbour, who's a writer who's had a little bit of success because he's had a novel published, though it's quite a difficult novel, and it's a very, very long novel. And Lara Tyler, this extraordinary movie star, has bizarrely picked up on this slightly obscure novel and been so impressed by it and fallen in love with him. And he can't believe his luck, because she's the woman that every man wants, and he's not going to say no. And so he's being swept away with this sort of romance with this, you know, sweet, clever, stunningly beautiful, very successful, very rich woman. And it's given him writer's block, and he hasn't put two and two together that maybe she's not the right woman for him. I think David is just an extraordinary actor. He has enormous intelligence, enormous insight, instinct. He's unbelievably funny. He always knows exactly how to get the timing to get a laugh from a line. I just think he's an incredibly talented actor. Well, the first person we cast was Kelly Macdonald. At that point, the casting director was a woman called Lucy Bevan, who thought I should meet Kelly. And I loved Kelly's work, but I'd never seen her be funny, so I was slightly worried. I thought, well, I knew she looked perfect and seemed right, but I just thought, gosh, I wonder if she could be funny. And then I met her, and of course, as everyone does, you just fall in love with her because she's completely adorable, and she totally got the script, and she totally got the humour in the script, and I just felt the essence of her. I just thought, we have to give it to Kelly. She knows she's this part. She knows she should have it. But I was blown away when we got into rehearsals, because I'd never seen her do it. And when we got into rehearsals and she started performing it, I thought, oh my God, you're so funny. And it was just so true and so real. But you feel so much for her. You completely love her, and you feel everything she's feeling, and you care so much about her, and you adore her. And I think it's the most sensational performance.
I had come up with the story, and I'd developed the story and the treatment with Ecos, and then I'd had a baby, and I'd kind of become distracted. And Ecos had been wanting to work with Neil for a long time, and they suggested that we might write together, and so we went on a blind date.
The rest is history.
And the rest is history.
No, yeah, it was
we
an
had a
arranged
blind date in a coffee shop in Belsize Park.
It was an arranged marriage, really.
It was basically an arranged marriage.
It's about a young Scottish girl played by Kelly Macdonald, who is essentially jilted. She lives in Edinburgh, and she flees back to the small Scottish island where she grew up because she's hiding from life, hiding from men. She just wants to kind of lick her wounds. And the world's biggest celebrity, Lara Tyler, has decided that she's going to have her wedding on the island.
Due to press intrusion, she's decided to go. She has to go to the most remote place on Earth, which in her mind is this island. And their paths cross.
Yes, Kelly's character gets swept up in this kind of fin de siècle wedding of the century when she's off men, she's hiding from life, and she ends up falling for the groom, David Tennant's character.
And so that's every woman's worst nightmare. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. It's every woman's worst nightmare, that you have fallen in love with a guy who is engaged to officially the most attractive, intelligent, wealthy and alluring female on the planet. So,
That's her
that's a bit of a
comic
bum.
predicament.
That's her comic predicament, yeah, that she's fallen in love with him.
We tend to act things out. We kind of sit like this in a room and just act it out. And some days
draw the pictures. We draw the picture.
Really badly,
Really badly, yeah, really badly.
Really
Lots
badly.
of arrows.
Yeah.
It would be a circle and then goes there, and it would be like this. But we understand it.
We kind of understand it, I think.
And we eat a lot. We eat so much.
Yeah.
So basically, I sort of provide food.
And we have lots of proper coffee when we're in difficult parts of the
Sometimes
script. So we're not just acting it out, we're actually shouting at each other. It's all angry but still fun.
We do all the accents.
All the accents. I can't do the accents. The one conversation we did have was, does he have a Scottish accent?
Yeah.
And I think the decision was made by Sheree that there's just more good, juicy initial conflict if Kelly's Scottish and he's English, Sassenach. And it was just a bit more kind of powder to light at the start of their relationship. But that was a conversation that took place. It was a possibility that they were both going to be Scottish at one point.
How perfect is Kelly Macdonald? She's beyond perfect.
On a scale of 1 to 4, 4
12.
being perfect, 12 and a half,
29,
29,
50.
That's out of 4.
She's
so
wonderful.
Just imagine
She's
that's
just
how good she
completely
is.
luminous.
She's very good.
She's wonderful. She's wonderful.
We kind of felt it was written for her, and we kind of knew that what she would bring to it, and she brought that quality to it. And it's a quite uncanny experience to write, kind of create and write a character and then see that character given flesh by somebody, and she's perfect.
The great thing about Kelly is that you care. There's some actors who are wonderful, technically astounding, not that she isn't, but you know, that you don't necessarily care. And with her, you really care.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and my agent actually told me that I was quite fortunate to be invited onto set as the writer, because usually the writer-director
really
relationship
they don't
is
like you there, not
really. Quite as strong as that. So she said, yeah, you should go up to the set because it might be the only time in your career you're ever invited along. So it was great to go to the Isle of Man and great to go up to Scotland as well. And yeah, it just makes it all feel real.
We were really lucky with Sheree in that, Sheree is somebody who's enormously experienced. She's been shooting for 20 years, and for a first-time director, you could have had somebody, not first-time director, but first-time feature director. You could have had somebody who was straight out of. I mean, that would have been a completely reasonable choice to choose somebody straight out of film school. We had done a great short, but actually to be able to shoot the whole story in those conditions was, I think, phenomenal, really.
I think we were lucky again with Kelly and David. David coming off 4 years on Doctor Who, and Kelly coming off Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah.
They were just
acting machines.
Just unbelievable, doing their own continuity, other people's continuity. I think David was doing Foley at one point. I mean, they were just so good. And
there was a point, though, when we were shooting in the Cloisters for the wedding, where David turned to me and he went, "Never been tenser." I thought, goodness, you've done Hamlet in the West End, you've been in the States, and you've never been tenser. That's a sign of just, how hard it was to shoot the film. Michael Urie, I think, is amazing in the film. He's got the hardest lines to say. I mean, he has minutes at a time of exposition that you'd never know. You don't notice until we only know because you
wrote it. and said at the time, I pity the poor sap who has to.
As we were acting it out with an bad American accent.
He's brilliant. I mean, he's just
really good. Yeah, really
comic
excellent.
Genius, and what he does with the part, and he's such a generous, such a generous kind of actor.
And so polite. All Texans are so polite. He's so polite. So charming, positive about everything. Alice Eve is so funny. She's lovely.
I mean, we're so fortunate because, the things that we do to poor Alice's character.
She's so game, isn't she?
She's so game, and yet she is still stunningly beautiful and charismatic, and you totally buy that she is the world's most desirable and famous actress. But we just, the things that we have her doing in the film, I mean, it's just outrageous. But she's a game girl. She signed up for it, and once you've signed, there's no going back.
We developed it about 4 years ago, initially from a concept that Sally Phillips came up with, which was basically the notion of a decoy bride. And then we developed it from that sort of starting point, going into the notion of a celebrity wedding set in Scotland, and then it evolved from there. The basic premise is that Kelly Macdonald, been living in Edinburgh, unlucky in love, comes home to her small Hebridean island to get away from it all, and really she's decided she's off men sort of permanently. And then she gets embroiled in a celebrity wedding that's come to town, featuring the bridegroom played by David Tennant and the bride played by Alice Eve, who's representing a kind of Hollywood actress at the peak of her powers, most desirable woman in the world. And Kelly well, I won't tell you the ins and outs of how Kelly gets into the situation of being the decoy bride, but she does, and that obviously has various knock-on effects in terms of how she starts to develop feelings for David through the course of the film. It's a romantic comedy, but I mean, we've aspired to make an intelligent film with a strong screwball element, which obviously has its origins in, you know, the American classics like Bringing Up Baby or It Happened One Night. Probably more It Happened One Night than Bringing Up Baby. And that was our aspiration from the beginning. We wanted to make a really quality film. Well, I think she's obviously, you know, a very successful comedienne, and she hadn't written a full-length screenplay before. So we worked with her for quite a while, and then we brought in the co-writer on this film, Neil Jaworski, who was also inexperienced in screenplay writing, but they just hit it off really very well. Sally obviously brings that quirky, sort of slightly crazy, funny humour, which is central to the humour in this film, and also she's very intelligent. So we had a really interesting combination. Yeah, I think Sheree works very hard with the actors. You know, she's very strong on casting, and you know, the actors work really well with her, so that they get, you know, do get their best work from the actors. We're working with Sheree with her background, very strong background working with actors, and as I said in our last conversation, you know, she's understands the script intimately. So if there are little nuances or changes that need to be made on the day, she's very well attuned to that, how to be flexible and not lose the narrative or lose, you know, the content of what we're trying to achieve.
What is marketing exactly?
On the sleepy island of Hague.
Nobody's going to buy a guidebook to here unless it's cheaper than our toilet paper. A conference.
The tide has turned.
They want my castle for a week.
No throwing yourself at the men, Katie.
We're looking for the castle.
We're marketing people. Do you like it?
Get me an office, £20,000 in cash, a construction crew, and a cappuccino.
Katie had just about given up on love.
Hollywood actress Laura Tyler and her British fiancé have slipped away to get married in secret.
Well, I've no idea where we are, but it's perfect.
It's just us.
Is that the press?
We're dead.
Through pack! It's like tea.
I would pay 200 grand for that photo. We need a decoy bride.
How's that gonna work? If you ever fancy a coffee, I'm a whole lot hotter than I look.
Who's that awful girl?
Now she's faking a fairy tale wedding.
Oh. Can you do an American accent?
I take you to be my husband. Did you sign the register?
You saw me. Why?
Thinking on the bus I may have signed my own name.
We need to get divorced.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
I'm coming with you.
The only thing she didn't plan for was falling in love.
I'm sorry, nearly drowned.
Don't be. Being drowned was a highlight.
I wish that I could keep you safe and hide you far away.
At least the fact that you are going to leave me for another woman has been agreed in advance. What's she like?
Really nice.
I'm gonna kill you!
Brilliant.
Turn me concave with caverns of longingness.
Oh, right.
How do you know when you've met the one?
Save the date for a comedy about the things you just can't fake.
Has the marriage been consummated?
No.
I just haven't had time.
The Decoy Bride.
What is love?
You know,